Because I say, what's up, fight fans? It's your boy IGMOB, also known as the Future, boxing's #1 designer.
Well, thank you for having us here today. So tell me a little bit about the group that is here today and what you guys are doing.
So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm cross-promoting fighters. We got Ashley Sill from Jack Rabbit Boxing. We got Babyface Nico, who used to be with Golden Boy Promotions, but is now making like a comeback in boxing. But he's still trying to figure out which direction, since he's got YouTubers that are calling him out. He's got fighters that also want to fight against him. So right now, what we're doing is we're cross-promoting everybody, because the thing is, there's different fan bases, so we feel like they can all really get to know each other. What fighters don't realize is that your social media is their main way of like really coming up in the industry. Because if you think about it, not a lot of people, it sucks, but there's a lot of fighters putting in a lot of work, right? But the unfortunate part is that they're putting in a lot of work, but since their social media followers aren't up, I kid you not, there's people that are like, oh, who's that? I never heard of him. Who's that? I never heard of him. But there's guys out there with some serious potentials, but because they don't put their personalities in their social medias, because they don't put a little bit of who they are to build that fan base, it sucks, because a lot of these guys, they're not even getting fights, right? So there's a lot of guys who are not getting fights and are actually retiring. I've known fighters like, well, nobody really cares to see me fight. I said, well, it's because you have to put yourself out there so we know who you are and we become a fan of yours, right? Like with me, I have a lot of people that have become fans of my work, but mainly it's because of the things I say, in terms of like how I get along with the fighters, the way that I put my personality out there, I put my struggles out there. More people relate, and more people are like, yo, I want to know more about this guy, right?
Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you came about? I really enjoy your story.
So a little bit about how I got my own back started was, obviously, I'm gonna take it all the way back to 1985, right? So IGMOB was basically started I was born in Santa Ana, California, right? So when I was born in Santa Ana, California, it was basically exactly how it is. Broken home, basically 1-bedroom apartment, 2 families. My youth, I actually spent it pushing carts at Target. It's right there, really, like, it's right by the Orange County Register building. At Target on the other side of the freeway, I used to push carts. Like, I started working at that age. Not only that, but as a Hispanic, obviously, we got the tough dads, right? We get that tough love where it's like, hey, it's like, you ask for something, bam, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, or if you do something wrong, bam. So it's kind of like that attitude, unfortunately, made me grow up as a very aggressive individual, which obviously pushed me into thug life, pushed me into kind of like not really caring about anything. You know what I mean? I kind of lived life on the edge, like I was telling you yesterday. I did everything from being a little wannabe gangster, I say, because I don't believe that gangsters even exist. It's just a bad boy with an attitude, basically. So that's kind of like, I kind of went down that route, became an alcoholic, became a pill popper. I kind of, was a product of my environment, where I let everybody else kind of move me like a puppet, where if they said I couldn't do something, I felt like I couldn't do it. I was a super senior in high school. I got arrested, you name it, basically. I can go on with like my resume of bad things that I've done, but it's nothing that I'm proud of. But it's kind of like, that's where I got my own back started, because once I overdosed in 2011, that's kind of like when I was telling you that, like, it's like a movie of your life gets played, and when the movie of your life gets played, you're like, damn, like, that's a sad movie, right? So when that ended up happening, that's when after I woke up from my overdose, that's when I realized I ain't never going back in that direction. So that's when the brand IGMOB started, which means I got my own back, which means I'm gonna push, and I'm gonna make sure that I write my own story rather than somebody else write my story.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this COVID. How did this impact you?
I loved it. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you why I loved it. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I was a guy who never really spent time with his family. I was always on the go, always just like on the go. I'd wake up in the morning, boom, business, all the way till nighttime, business. And it kind of sucks, because it's funny, because back then I didn't spend time with my family because I was too busy partying. Now I don't spend time with my family because I'm too busy working. So it's funny, but I'm actually glad that it happened. It's weird, but I'm actually really glad that it happened, because I got a chance to, my nieces, I've never been to any of their birthdays, because I was always working. So I was like, you know what, when this happened, it's crazy, but a week later was her birthday, and we still were able to have her birthday before everything just got completely shut down. So to me, honestly, it just took me, I meditated more. When I mean meditation, I mean like practice breathing exercises, kind of relaxed more, kind of really took a step back, and like started to enjoy, you know, life. But it's funny because I think for like 1 month I didn't do anything, but then my DM started filling up with, you got to do mass, you got to do mass, you got to do mass, like, you know, since there's no boxing. So it's funny because I did actually start doing mass, which it's crazy, but I actually did a lot better making mass for those like months than boxing outfits, which kind of cracks me up. But yeah, it's kind of
So do you sew all of this yourself?
I was sewing in the beginning because I was starting, so I was doing a little bit of sewing. I still bedazzle my outfits, like when I put these little diamonds.
Yeah.
It's funny because in the beginning I was doing all that, but it got to the point where business started growing. So to be honest, I'd rather be out there, bring in more business, and kind of like networking with people. So then I had to hire sewers. Then I hired 3 sewers, and now I have 5. But to be honest with you, I think I need to hire more, just because it's a lot harder right now. The champ is here, because it's harder right now to basically, since we got to make. It's gotten to the point right now that ever since Canelo basically, you know, chose I got Moen back to design for him. Literally, design's just been skyrocketing. Everybody's just, oh, I want you to design for me because you designed for Canelo. Because I also worked on Creed 2, the movie.
Yeah.
So I've even worked on the show Kingdom. It's on Netflix right now. So there's like a bunch of things that I've worked on. So there's like a lot of people like, yo, you know what I mean? This is the guy. And now, I don't know if you saw my social media today, but now I'm working with WrestleMania. There she is. Big shout out to Sasha Banks.
There you go.
Working with WrestleMania, so it's badass because I've designed chef jackets for chefs in Dubai. I've designed boxing outfits. I've designed streetwear, and now I'm getting into WrestleMania. So I'm excited to just like be in different industries, just because I want to show people that my talent can go beyond basically anything. And it's crazy because I'm pulling little hints from everywhere and just like incorporating it into my boxing designs.
Awesome. And how did you start off with promoting yourself? I think you mentioned, you know, going to different places and kind of taking your stuff with you that you created.
I used to drive around to to boxing events where there was boxing events, and I remember I used to drive there in my busted truck that I used to have because like I crashed my truck in a drunk driving accident with my boy. So he crashed it actually. I was in the passenger seat. So I ended up fixing my dad's truck, which is like a really busted up one. So I used to just drive up to fights, open up the trunk, and legitimately, I used to just like hang my shirts in the back. Like when people were coming up to go to the fights, I was like literally just doing that, trying to sell my shirts. So that's legit how like I got my own back started, was selling t-shirts out of my truck. And it was funny because I actually got kicked off the StubHub the first time I tried selling there, because I went there. I hired a girl from Macy's, and I asked her if she can come sell t-shirts. So like we came and we put a box on the floor and we're there selling t-shirts, and security kicked us off. So then what I did was I went to the parking lot and I started selling the shirts from there.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. That's how you have to do it.
It's funny, but that's literally where like it started basically.
That's how you have to do it. That's great. And you mentioned that you do some training now?
So right now I because the thing is, I love the art of boxing. So one trainer that I really caught my eye was Trevor Sombrano. I call him Trevor Sombrero, but it's Trevor Sombrano. His attention to detail in boxing really caught my attention. And I'm also a big fan of Bones Adams from Las Vegas, which is my boy. But Trevor Sombrano, like I really love his style of boxing, so I was like, you know what, I've really always wanted to train with him too. I was actually being trained before by Clemente Medina, but he was just more like power punches and stuff like that because he says I have a hard hit. So with Trevor, I've always wanted to learn the footworks because I always seem to stumble on myself when I'm moving around. So he's been teaching me right now like the footworks, and now we're over here obviously training at Storm Boxing side by side with Babyface Nico, so it's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much. And any last words?
Never give up. Keep moving forward. Doesn't matter how hard life gets. Trust me, you can always write a brand new story. Because people always like to give up on themselves. I talked to 3 people this last week that say they've given up on their dreams. I tell them, you know what? This is what happened in 1 year. I got sued. I was looking at 6 years in jail. I got in a car accident. I ended up in the hospital. I overdosed on drugs and alcohol. I lost my job. Lost my girlfriend at the time, lost everything the same year. Everything just like came crashing down. I still was able to get my butt back up and kept pushing forward. And then after that, you know, I still, you know, stumbled because there were obstacles, because life has its obstacles. But what did I do? I just kept pushing forward. And now I live a very peaceful life.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and having us here.
Thank you.